if I had to pick a New Year's resolution going back in January, it would be this: no more school shootings. No more. We do not want more of these school shootings happening in every state we live in. We want to go to school being safe. There ain't no if, and, but, or excuse about it. It doesn't matter whether you like your teacher, you hate your teacher, you hate this, you hate that, you hate your community, whatever. It does not matter. I want to go to school. I want to be safe. Yada yada, zip. I don't want to go to school and I'm being shot at. I want to be safe. There were 2 school shootings happening, one in Bowie and one in Maryland.
Right now at 4, we begin with breaking news. CBS News Texas chopper live over
here at Bowie High School in Arlington.
Hello.
Things look pretty serious right now behind me, the front of the school. You can see heavy police presence. There's more than a few cars over there. School buses lined up. We're being told that there's going to be a reunification center at the Arlington Athletics Center, Arlington ISD Athletics Center. There's also fire, other police officers. There's a group of people that just seem to be standing, waiting around. I think that this is starting to coincide with school pickup, so we're seeing more and more cars enter the area. And it's just, a heavily trafficked scene. People are trying to figure out what's going on. We've seen a few people that look like they could be parents talking to police, speaking with firefighters. I've seen one ambulance. One of those choppers up there is ours. There's 2 helicopters up there. So we're still trying to get all the information we can for you, and when we have all that, we'll be following it all day, all night. And in Arlington, Bo Evans, CBS News, Texas.
All right, Bo, I'm not sure if you can hear me. This is Karen Borda. Have you had a chance to talk with any of those parents outside there? I know the district had been asking folks not to come there to the school because this did happen. It seems like shortly before dismissal. But there's no way if you're a parent that you're not
Rushing.
Exactly. Have you been able to talk with anyone?
We haven't been able to talk with anyone yet, Karen. We just got on scene and we're just able to get our live shots, trying to bring you as much information as we can as soon as we can. But like I said, we have seen more than a few people who look like their parents get out of their cars, try and talk to police. They look confused, they look concerned, and they're just trying to get answers, just like we are.
Everyone wants answers. Now we probably will know. I think I've heard about this before I got started. One of the person that started this, he committed suicide. I think that's what happened. I'm not sure. That's in Bowie, Texas. Now another school shooting. The suspect has been arrested. He has been arrested, and there were more motives in the case according to the FBI.
In his former elementary school, after authorities discovered what...
Here's our Chief Justice Correspondent, Rich Thomas now.
Tonight, the FBI, along with state and local authorities in Maryland, said they thwarted 18-year-old Alex Yee's plans to shoot up his high school and his former elementary school, after authorities discovered what they called a manifesto with detailed plans to commit mass murder.
Yee writes about targeting his former elementary school because little kids make easier targets. He strategized on how to access the easiest classrooms in his high school and how he would be able to sneak a gun into the school.
Yee, whose legal name is Andrea but uses male and female pronouns and goes by Alex, was known to authorities as having a history of mental health issues and an obsession with school shootings. Issues that led him to be removed from school and placed into virtual learning last year. Last month, Yee allegedly shared the 129-page Google document with someone he knew, calling it a work of fiction. But police say when the person read it, they immediately called the police.
He also wrote that he wanted to become a serial killer instead of a mass murderer because serial killers are romanticized a lot more.
He was taken to a psychiatric hospital and is now being held without bond. One count of a threat of mass violence.
Police say he is obsessed with the Columbine High School massacre. David, tomorrow is the 25th anniversary of Columbine. Authorities clearly taking no chances.
Hard to believe, 25 years. Pierre Thomas tonight. Pierre, thank you.
And 25 years later, this kid still fantasizes about that shooting. Look, we want schools, we care about safety and security in our schools. All parents care about these days is safety and drug policies. Why can't Johnny weed? Why can't Johnny weed? Damn, that never gets old. Every day when we go to school, this is what we expect. We expect our child to be safe. We expect the child to come home safe. We don't expect to be called in the middle of the day and say, there's been a mass murder, there's been a school shooting, like, oh my God, I gotta go make sure little Timmy's okay. That's what worries us parents. We're terrified that our kids are becoming victims of a school shooting. Even high schoolers. I mean, nowadays high schools, they just get their phones and call their parents to pick them up. Even if it's a lockdown. It's just basically a drill. But if it's really serious, then it's got to be taken very seriously. Very seriously. And even then, we'll know. If there's any more developments in these two shootings, we'll let you know. Later on, the Dixie Chicks finally speak out. The controversial Dixie Chicks. The country pop Dixie Chicks. In an exclusive interview from 21 years ago. Coming up, how safe are school buses without seatbelts? Les Trent with an investigation you don't want to miss. Stay with us. How many times has it happened? Here's a question. Did you ever ride a seatbelt-less school bus? I personally did, and it felt unsafe because I was afraid like a car was going to hit and slam against the window. But how safe are seatbelt-less school buses? We're about to dive deeper into this. It's not a scare tactic, it's just a safety concern. You can find seatbeltless school buses in possibly every state. For 50 years, there has been a law saying that you're required to use a seatbelt to ride a car. School buses are exempt from that law. We see the whole reason for this is because this and the other. But now it's why we see videos of kids acting on a school bus, standing up and not listening. So why are there not any laws protecting young passengers on school buses with no seatbelts? Here's Les Trent.
Kids are required to wear them in cars and on planes. So why not on most school buses? Watch as these Albuquerque middle schoolers get tossed around inside a school bus without seatbelts when a car crashed into it in 2022. You can hear their frightened screams. According to the most recent data, there were 81 fatal school bus collisions in 2021.
Right now, a school bus just flipped.
These two brothers were headed to their first day of school last August when police say a car drifted across the lane and crashed into their school bus. It had no seatbelts.
And the front of the bus was really wrecked. Like, it was completely destroyed.
11-year-old Bryson got a severe concussion. His younger brother Rigel flew upwards, smashing against the ceiling.
I heard like a, and then I passed out. I'm guessing I either hit the top or the window.
Sadly, one of their classmates died.
There was just glass everywhere, blood, kids everywhere. The worst thing you could ever imagine as a mother.
It's a tragedy their mom, Brittany Fisher, believes seatbelts could have prevented.
That boy would still be alive today if there were seatbelts on buses.
Seatbelt safety expert Melissa Dobbs invited us to this special testing facility in Indianapolis to see for ourselves how violent bus crashes can get when kids aren't buckled up safely. Watch how this child mannequin gets tossed around when this bus slams into a wall at just 30 miles per hour.
The unbelted students didn't do nearly as well as the belted students did. You can see we have a couple kids actually completely out of the seats in the aisleway. I have a kiddo down here beside me that's trapped in between the seats. It absolutely is a nightmare.
Melissa says the biggest reason many states haven't adopted seatbelt legislation is because of the cost it would take to retrofit all buses. But after this 2018 accident in New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy took action, signing into law a 3-point seatbelt requirement. Here at this elementary school in Englewood, New Jersey, teachers invited us aboard to show how every kid gets buckled up.
Can you buckle it? All right, pull it in. All right, good job.
Now, many moms like Brittany are advocating for safer school buses.
If your child is involved in an accident like this, and God forbid they lose their life, you're going to feel passionately about trying to implement some kind of change.
Is it time that we raise some common sense? We do. Common sense alert.
Buckle up. It's been the law in cars for more than 50 years.
Okay, common sense alert. Let me go back to what Les Trent said.
If they're...
Phil invited us to this special 30 miles per hour.
The unbelted student, kiddo down here, but
the biggest reason many states haven't adopted seatbelt legislation is because of the cost it would take to retrofit all buses.
Are you crazy? Are you crazy? The costs? We're not going to be responsible for a child to death. Of course you are. States have to have laws. The government needs to step in. Federal law needs to sit there and say, hey, there needs to be requirements for buses to have seatbelts. All buses. Give them more money. And we'll outfit more buses with more seatbelts. Cars, minivans, Ford Explorers, every vehicle that you own. The federal government requires that your child, everyone wears a seatbelt. Cars, planes, school buses. 2 out of 3. Third one, buses. I mean, try to Google states with no seatbelt buses. Try looking it up. April 2024, 41 states do not require seatbelts on school buses, including Ohio and Illinois. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, requires 3-point seatbelts on school buses that weigh less than 10,000 pounds, but allows states to decide whether to require seatbelts on larger buses. The following 8 states have laws requiring seatbelts on school buses: Arkansas, California, Florida, Louisiana, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, and here in Texas. So, these 8 states are required, but the rest of the states don't. Come on, get a grip. Get it together. Start saying to yourself, hey, we need to be governors. If you guys are watching, be like these 8 states. Be like Arkansas, California, Florida, Louisiana, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Texas. Be like these guys and say, hey, we gotta have all these seatbelts in these buses. If we don't, then there'd be a lot more accidents happening and we could be held liable. But it shouldn't be all about the cost. Safety is, let me tell you something. Safety is what matters. Safety matters. What that could be, let me tell you, that was your child on that school bus with no seatbelt, you would not be forgiving. You want to forgive yourself for saying, why should I listen to this man? I mean, you would watch this episode, and the day after that, your child would die, and then you'd be watching the episode saying to yourself, I feel awful. I should have listened to Jonathan when he told us that we need to make a law. And we're going to. I mean, many people say, whoa, hold on. That weighing 10,000-pound bus. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's all about safety. That's what matters. Safety matters. That was your child, that was my child. I would not even give myself. When I was a governor, I would make a law requiring me, as society, we need to have a law that said, we have a federal law that says that all school buses must have a seatbelt. Not just state laws. State governors can't. State governors can't even make that law. It should be the United States government making that law. In Iowa, requires lap shoulder belts on new school buses starting 2019. That was 5 years ago. School buses are designed to be safer than passenger vehicles with closely spaced seats and high air-absorbing seat backs. The National Safety Council says that seatbelts and other safety features can make buses even safer. As society in this country, we ought to make a law requiring that all buses have seatbelts to make a child safer, with no ifs, ands, buts, or excuses. Simple law. It's that simple. You may have 21 years ago, you might have seen the Diane Sawyer exclusive about the Dixie Chicks, the controversial Dixie Chicks. If you've seen it, years ago, up next, we're going to show it to you again. And hear what they had to say after all these years of the war in Iraq, no question off limits. Please stay with us. Throughout this season, we brought you 2 controversial music stories, from Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town, to even when Beyonce ripped off a turtle, Franklin. Now we're going back to 21 years ago. If you saw this interview back in 2003 and said, I knew what was going on, I saw an interview, I was terrified. It was the controversial band formerly known as the Dixie Chicks. Now they're called the Chicks. The Chicks had a bunch of hits like There's Your Trouble to the ever popular Landslide cover from one artist. Now the controversy started back in 2003 with the war in Iraq. And as you're about to hear, the controversy all started with the words. And before we play this, I want to let you know that this is a risk I'm willing to take. This channel might have gotten a copyright strike from these 6 songs, but I am willing to take that risk. And I will not be copyright infringement. I will do whatever it takes to get these muted. So you may hear muted. It may be muted to you, but don't take that risk. Here's Diane Sawyer.
Only 6 weeks ago, this is how it sounded to be singing on top of the world. Natalie Maines, the famously untamed lead singer, the girl with the voice that can do laser surgery on your heart, and the glamorous sisters, Marty and Emily, who became local favorites in Dallas after fiddling on street corners downtown. The Dixie Chicks were making history. #1 on the country chart, #1 on the pop charts, and personal lives to match. And then, last March, they walked into the Shepherd's Bush Empire Theatre in London for a concert, they say, like any other. They look so relaxed on this videotape, checking out the stage. Just minutes before, a 15-word sentence would become political nitroglycerin and blow apart their lives.
I think they should send Natalie over to Iraq, strap her to a bomb, and just drop her over Baghdad. I say lock up the CDs. The president is working so she can keep that mouth of hers. I never want to hear another Dixie Chick song again.
Last week, we sat down at Marty's home in Austin, Texas, to hear them talk about all this for the first time, starting with that infamous night, 9 days before the war in Iraq would begin. Here we are, March 10th.
Is that when it was?
Describe for me what it is. You're up there on stage in London, and what is going on? Are there protesters in the audience? Do they have signs? Are they shouting?
We were a small club, a 2,000-seater in London. We'd been there before, and actually the time we played there before, it was all Texans, expatriate Texans that were over there living and working. And
so
you know,
everybody is just cheering the song.
No, yeah, it was just a very regular show. Yeah. There's nothing political about the show at all.
So what prompted this?
I think it was before Traveling Soldier.
Men and women poised to invade Iraq. At home, the UN was divided in heated argument. Demonstrators were in the streets from London to San Francisco, even though 70% of Americans were clear that the protesters were wrong and it was time to go to war.
We don't plan things that we're going to say, and sometimes it backfires, not this big, but in the long run, we always feel like it makes the show fresher and more genuine when things aren't scripted.
Just 15 words, but they were 15 words. Just so you know we're ashamed, the President of the United States is from Texas. Why did you say it?
Out of frustration. At that moment, on the eve of war, I had a lot of questions that I felt were unanswered.
Believe me, there'll be a lot more on this topic later. But that night, the Dixie Chicks say, they didn't really give Natalie's words a second thought. You do this, the crowd reacts, doesn't react?
Yes, they reacted. There was no booing.
Big cheer? What? Did you want that?
I mean, that would mean that there was thought behind it, and I'm telling you, there wasn't thought behind it. You know, we didn't walk off that stage going, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that, I can't believe I said that.
Neither of you listening to it said...
For a split second, I kind of went, and then it was so fleeting because I just know her. You know, she tells a story about how when she was young, she was playing, you know, just banging on the piano, and her father said, "Natalie, not another note. You cannot play another note. I can't handle it." And
she told me several times to stop
to be quiet. And she just sat there and she looked right at him, and she just pressed it, you know. And that's Natalie. And I think
sign you had that there was sort of a seismic tremor from this.
Simon, our manager, coming in.
Well, we were going into his hotel, going up Tab O to watch our video, I think. And he got a call, and he was pacing back and forth. Oh no, you know, we're automatically going, what is it? And then he says, you know, he gets off the phone, we're like, what happened? Well, the AP picked up on what you said the other night, and but don't worry, it's going to blow over in 3 days. And I looked at him and I go, no, it's not. He goes, yes, it is. Don't worry about it, you know, doing the old manager spiel. And I said, I don't think so.
And was she ever right? It started with angry calls to radio stations.
We're going to boycott them for their music, and we're going to boycott you for playing it if you don't stop playing it.
Well, ma'am, that was the last one you're going to hear.
Hundreds of stations simply stopped playing the songs they had celebrated over and over again hours before.
I love their songs, but I don't agree with what they did. Thank y'all for pulling the Dixie Chicks, and I think we should be just as embarrassed for them.
One columnist said she might have well have said Osama bin Laden is her lover.
I can't believe that's even worth repeating.
Stupid broads.
Yeah, and we'll take the heat for our mistakes, but this is a little out of control. I mean, when people say things like Saddam's angels.
On the internet, they had pictures of you all with Saddam.
Doctored pictures, and that's internet stuff. It's ridiculous.
Pictures. Clear that up. We did not have our picture made with Saddam.
And see later, there would be frightening threats, towering rage. In the words of another of their hit songs, a landslide.
Started ringing and ringing and ringing. The publicity office had to close down their internet. Sony has to have extra security outside of the building, and I'm just feeling responsible.
It was a lot on our shoulders, and a lot on her shoulders. They forget she's a human being, and she was concerned for her grandmother in Lubbock, who's catching shit from all her friends, and our grandfather's catching shit at the nursing home. And I mean, it's just, you worry about, we are pretty tough, and we have each other, and we stand by each other through thick and thin, and we know we're going to make mistakes. But this was colossal. This felt so colossal. I want to show my kids and my grandkids one day that in the year 2003, this is what was happening when we went to war. This was the story on the 5 o'clock news the week we go to war.
Dixie chick Natalie Maines told a London audience that their group is ashamed.
So were they responsible for these 15 words? These 15 words. But were they responsible? When we come back, no question off limits, emotions run high. Natalie Maines on Osama bin Laden.
Really think about the president and the fighting forces overseas.
Coming up, emotions run high, no question off limits. Natalie Maines on Osama bin Laden.
Let every single person who lost somebody on 9/11 give them a little bit of torture.
When we come back, when Landslide, the Dixie Chicks, continues. Stay with us. Returning to our story, if you were to take a knife and cut it through the veins, all that would come out are these colors, the red, white, and blue. It may be unpatriotic to just tell people that you believe in the firefighters and all, the police and everything, but when you say those 15 words saying that they're ashamed of Texas, saying that that's from Texas, that you're shaming your state. But with a controversial band saying that, it's like, boo, burn the CDs, don't listen to them again. But there's no question on limits for these three. And as they continue speaking, you will hear the outrageous claim. Once again, Diane Sawyer.
In that friendly, country way, we know all about their lives. Natalie and Marty's divorces.
My husband now, number 2.
Emily's struggle with fertility treatments and the rapturous joy of giving birth to little Gus, now a mighty 6 months old. Natalie has a baby of her own, Slade, age 2. Their husbands are pals, they live near each other and talk all the time. As we always see and hear, the Dixie Chicks don't just look like a sister act, they live it. Even though Natalie's only a sister in that southern way.
Marty's husband is Natalie's sister's husband's brother.
Can we diagram?
So Marty and Natalie's sister
Right.
are sister-in-laws.
Yeah.
So now they're somewhat related.
Natalie is the rebel daughter of a renowned steel guitar player, Lloyd Maines. While Marty and Emily are the refined daughters of a former headmaster of a private school in Dallas. Their mother, a classically trained violinist.
We like all kinds of music. I think we are our audience in a lot of ways. We think our audience has very diverse tastes in music, like we do.
And politics?
Hopefully, diversity in politics.
Which brings us back to the big topic. What were the Dixie Chicks really thinking that night? What was the truth behind the words that exploded their world like dynamite?
I want to start this whole topic off with, so people know this when they listen to the answers to all the rest of the questions, is just, we support the troops. We support the troops 100%. We have said that from day one. People have quoted, we don't support the troops, which is the opposite of anything we have ever said. There is not a correlation in not wanting a war and not supporting the troops who are doing their job.
When Jessica Lynch came home, I am feeling the same thing that the people who are claiming I'm not patriotic are feeling. I feel those things. I want to see those troops come home. James Keel is from where I live right now, in my hometown, and my husband went to his funeral yesterday, and I kept thinking in the back of my mind, are those people going to see him and think that he's not allowed to be there because he's related to a Dixie chick, and it's just, those are the hurtful things, that the untruths that are out there.
But the girls admit back before the fighting began, they were questioning the whole idea of war. The possibility of a terrorism backlash, they say, the lack of international support. And they add that they were suffering at the thought of Americans dropping bombs and all the lives that could be lost.
On this part, I just personally felt like, why tomorrow? It's not that I don't ever want you to go over there. It's not that I don't ever want you to clean things up and fix things. It's just, why can't we find the chemical weapons first? Why can't we, just why tomorrow?
You just had a lot of questions that were unanswered. I don't think that's a wrong place to be.
We've never been, I say we, because I know this about all three of us, like anti-war all the time. We're anti-war. That's not at all what we said. I mean, if Osama bin Laden was caught, and and this is an issue where the right-wing people will love me, is that I'm not even for killing him. Bring him. Osama bin Laden. You bring him over here. Let me have him. No, I'm for more than like easy, bam. Bring him over here. Let every single person. Sorry, I want to say this without crying. Let every single person who lost somebody on 9/11 give him a little bit of torture. And not enough where it's going to kill him, because he needs to feel every single bit of it.
You don't think Saddam Hussein is a monster?
Oh, yes.
No, what would you have done about Saddam Hussein?
For the most part, which I don't think is fair. I hope that
the people sitting at home would say to you, if you're going to criticize the president for his decision, you better have your own.
I believe there are people who have that position for a reason. They do know more than we know. I believe that 100%, and that's their job, to know more than we know.
But they say, don't even ordinary people have a right to wonder, even to doubt?
I ask questions. That's smart. That's intelligent. To find out facts, not to just, okay, we're going over here now. I say, why are we going over there? And I don't mean to Iraq, I mean across the room. Since I was tiny, you've had to tell me why I have to do something.
But we asked them, can you really support the troops while doubting their mission?
That it does matter to them that you believe in what they're putting their lives on the line for.
As passionate as they are about their cause, I love that about them. But except that, I am passionate about mine as well.
Do people actually think you encourage the enemy in a moment like that, when you say something like that?
No, I don't believe that. I remember one woman wrote to Natalie and said, Miss Maines, when Saddam Hussein finds out what you said, he's going to know he's won.
It's like he's not checking up on the ticker tape what country music stars are saying. We're not making foreign policy here. We're musicians. We are entertainers. Marty and I have family in the military. There's nothing more that we want to do than have our troops be safe, successful. Of course, we're very patriotic. I went online one time on a military base chat room website, and I was surprised. There were a lot of people on there talking about this issue and saying, I have those same fears. I have those same frustration.
But even people who said it's fine to question the war were shocked that someone would stand on a stage and attack the commander-in-chief.
I just, when all the protests were going on, and he was asked, Mr. President, what did you think about all the protests this weekend? And I would have liked to have seen, I saw them. I appreciate the sentiment that they're coming from. I appreciate that these are passionate citizens of the United States.
but I really feel like this is the right thing to do, and I have to do what I, just
He
an
said
acknowledgement.
it's a free country,
Just
and
an
that people have a right
acknowledgement.
to express. He said people have a right to express their opinion.
That's not what I saw on CNN, but
First of all, sides of protest is like deciding, well, I'm going to decide policy based upon a focus group. The role of a leader is to decide policy based upon the security, in this case, the security of the people.
I felt like there was a lack of compassion every time I saw Bush talking about this. I honestly felt a lack of compassion, and I realized you've got people, for me, for a lack of compassion for people that are questioning this, for the people that are about to die for this on both sides.
Do you think he's a callous man?
No, I don't.
And I didn't fear was the setting up of you're either with us or against us. That's not true. That's not true.
So Maine says she was just trying to fire back when she shot herself in the foot.
I'd like to say I learned to think before I talk, but but when you're on stage, but I've been on stage my whole life, and I know that that's going to take a while to train myself.
Are you ashamed that the President of the United States is from your state?
No, I'm not truly embarrassed that, President Bush is from my state. That's not really what I care about. It was the wrong wording with genuine emotion and questions and concern behind it.
Ashamed.
I'm not ashamed he's from Texas.
So what is the word you should have used? What are the right words about how you feel?
Well, I said it in my statement.
Her statement talked about her frustration over the war and apologized to the president, but it only added fuel to the fire.
People who are on our side think I was pressured. They like to believe that I was made to apologize, because they liked me until I apologized. And then the people who didn't like me thought that it was written by someone else and couldn't give me credit for my own apology. And neither of those are true.
We do make mistakes, as we all have,
But you haven't told me what the mistake was.
I think it came down to it was in a foreign country, and it was an off-the-cuff statement.
And
the way I said it was disrespectful. The wording I used, the way I said it, that was disrespectful.
I hear something not quite, wholehearted.
Really?
When you talk about apologizing for what you said about the president.
I understand what you're saying, and I might be doing that, but it's not because it's not genuine. It's because I'm on guard now. But I feel regrettable. I feel regret for, the choice of words or the non-choice of words. Am I sorry I said that? Yes. Am I sorry I spoke out? No. Am I sorry that I ask questions and that I don't just follow? No.
Can I read a quote from President Theodore Roosevelt, former president, having been a Republican president? He said, "To announce that there must be no criticism of the president or that we are to stand by the president right or wrong is not only unpatriotic and servile, but is morally treasonable to the American public."
Oh, say can you see?
That's the sound of the Dixie Chicks at the Super Bowl last January.
What's so proudly we hailed. I guess on some level I feel like me speaking out, and not with that particular statement, but now to here today, is the most patriotic thing I can do. And there's been so many things that contradict each other in this whole, in these circumstances, as far as, you shouldn't criticize, this is what people have died to give you this right. And I think, yeah, and I'm using it. They didn't die for me not to use it. So, I'm proud that I used my right.
She's proud that she used her right. Coming up next, more of that interview. Especially more about the Iraq, more about the war, and later the question is, and more about the concept that they did probably didn't perform or not perform. Stay with us. Back to our story. We've seen how the Dixie Chicks protested the right way about the wrong way about the war with Iraq. But what about other entertainers that supported this? And what about the Dixie Chicks? Why is it smashed? And what are the soldiers going to say? About when they see Dixie Chicks? Are they going to boo her or applaud her? Again, Diane Sawyer.
They are practically a Hollywood repertory company. Lights, camera, protest.
Don't invade Iraq. Inspections work. War won't.
Actors like Martin Sheen, Tim Robbins, Susan Sarandon.
I need to know, what did Iraq do to us?
And Sean Penn, who toured Iraq before the war. He said to try to learn more.
So that I could look and see the people that my government, and therefore by default I, am threatening.
These entertainers did take some hits. A United Way appearance was canceled for Sarandon. And her partner, Tim Robbins, was disinvited to a celebration of the movie Bull Durham at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And on the internet, celebrity bashing, lots of it, some even calling for boycotts. But for the stable of Hollywood liberals, the controversy really didn't torpedo business. After Michael Moore was practically booed off the stage at the Academy Awards.
We are against this war, Mr. Bush. At any time, you've got the police against you. Your time is up.
His book was still selling strong. And what about Madonna and the video you'll never see? She edited out the military images on the left, the new re-edited version on the right. But Madonna and her music are expected to do just fine. Fans punish their own for saying whatever they think.
Stay back. Get on sidewalk.
Well, we decided to see what those who are really on the front lines think. We went to visit the troops now patrolling the streets of Baghdad.
What is on a mortar?
We noticed that some of them seemed to give the Dixie Chicks more latitude than some of the country music fans back home.
I mean, everybody has their right to their opinion.
It's true, some of them were very critical.
With a Buddha? Hell yeah, Buddha. And I like the Dixie Chicks. Then again, they're knocking my commander-in-chief.
But we asked if they gave a concert.
I'll be there in New York minute.
In the end, a lot of the troops invoked the principle of free speech, while others invoked the principles of country music and girls.
I like them. They're pretty.
Great patriotism.
All right. Now that we heard from the troops, coming up next. Now that we heard from the troops, when we come back, why is this tractor just smashing down on these records? And what else do the Dixie Chicks have to say? More Diane Sawyer's exclusive interview when we come back. Stay with us. Picking up our story. Rage, patriotism, and fear. Why are the Dixie Chicks getting death threats? As you're about to hear, one of their songs, Home, was just derailed right after a picture you're about to see of a tractor smashing the Dixie Chicks all albums, because not only of what the 15 words that they said, but what that song is. It ain't like Try That in a Small Town. But what makes it patriotic, American, or un-American? What makes you a patriotic or unpatriotic? Cody Johnson has always been a patriotic, saying his speech before every song like, doubt me now until you can't, following dreams. Because he's always supported the police officers, the firefighters, the paramedics who help out. And I'll tell you this, your freedom is not bought by celebrities. Your freedom is bought by the men and women who serve this country, who fought for this country. They love this country. But what makes it American, un-American? And what makes you a patriotic or unpatriotic? And what does it mean for free speech? Again, Diane Sawyer.
'Cause Earl had to die.
The Dixie Chicks have been groundbreakers in the music business in a lot of ways. These irreverent glamour girls are also full of nerves. A huge Sony corporation for underpayment of their royalties. And they won.
As usual, I've been getting in trouble with my mouth lately.
Before all of this happened, their new album, Home, was selling faster than a Texas two-step.
This record is so dear to us, our favorite record, and it's so not commercial, and it's been such a commercial success.
Time for another little chicken foot tattoo.
We can see the tattoos now. This is for every million seller?
#1 gold and platinum.
Every time we go platinum for the first time on an album, we go.
I just remember listening to country music as a young girl and knowing I wanted to play the fiddle, and that's all I ever wanted to do, knowing I'd get into country music and trying to convert people over to country music and hearing them always say, oh, but no, that's redneck music. No, those people are so backwoods and conservative and closed-minded and this and that. And me always saying to these people, no, just give it a chance, give it a chance.
But what will happen now that some of the listeners she was championing
Lock up the CD.
We will not listen to them anymore.
have turned against the Dixie Chicks with a vengeance?
Country music doesn't need the Dixie Chicks.
The Dixie Chicks are incredibly out of line.
Fine, maybe take us off the air for a week and give us a spanking. You know, that's fine. It's the people that have gone overboard and done such irrational things that take you back to the days of book burning.
They should send Natalie over to Iraq, strap her to a bomb, and just drop her over Baghdad.
I just can't imagine bringing your children to bulldoze people's art, their face, their likeness, their music, because I don't agree with what they said. I saw a picture in a paper of these young kids stomping on our CDs. The mother brought them there to do that. My problem is, when does it cross the line? When is trashing Emily's property okay? When is writing a threatening letter okay? Does the punishment fit the crime? We know that a station in San Antonio said, well, I know where Natalie lives, and we ought to just get a posse together and go down there and straighten her out.
But what about their album, Home? It's no longer #1. It was knocked down by Daryl Worley's flag-waving rouser.
Who's gone away to war? They remember.
Some of your friends did come forward, but you're surprised more didn't? Were you surprised more people in the
It took a while.
Business,
I was surprised at how many would come forward but not want to come forward publicly. Yeah. That cracks me up because it's true. I don't blame them. I don't blame Madonna for not wanting to put out her video in light of what's happened to us.
Her quote was what? I don't want to get Dixie chicked.
Their name is now a verb. Again, listen to Michael Moore at the Oscars.
Shame on you, Mr. Bush. At any time, you've got the polls against you. Your time is up.
Did you watch the Oscars?
We just saw the clip.
You saw the clip. What did you think, Michael Moore? What did you think of what he said?
Well, how long was that after? It was the Sunday after I had said it. I understand where he's coming from, but we didn't need the extra attention. So I'm mad at him, and I was just like, don't say it.
But wait a minute, if Michael Moore is defending you, what does that say? Did the Dixie Chicks betray their country fans by secretly being Hollywood liberals?
Once again, it's the us versus them. And I do think we are like our fans in a lot of ways. I do think we are, our basic moral fiber is made from the very same thing. Family is so important to us. You know, singing songs about real issues is very important to us. We're not any different today than we were before this statement was made.
What? Brett Butler at Country Music Television's Flameworthy Video Music Awards said, we're in the South.
It's a place of sin and redemption and hopefully forgiveness. And so maybe in a couple of weeks we'll just all try to forgive the Dixie Chicks, okay?
Maybe so.
Would you like that?
Forgive us. You know, forgive us. What am I trying to say here? Accept us. Accept an apology that was made. Accept
that we made
what we're saying right now as heartfelt, full of compassion and honesty. But to forgive us, don't forgive us for who we are.
But we wondered, what if this turns out to be a fatal wound to the fantastic career?
Well, I think we're dealing with bigger issues than record sales and loss, things like that. I'm concerned about my safety. I'm concerned about my safety for my family, for them.
You really don't care about the sales.
It's not that we don't care, but we put it in perspective as to what is really important. You know, when you're getting death threats or people, we're, you know, at our concerts this year, we have to have metal detectors. And to me, that's just crazy, but we have to take those precautions because this thing has gotten so out of control.
I mean, you can't change the past, and you can try, and I don't know, you know, we have families. I mean, would I be crushed? If I was, it'd be until the moment I looked at Slade.
I remember after I won my first Grammy thinking, everything from here on out is icing on the cake. And I really feel that way. I feel like our lives have been so blessed, and I save every article and everything. I've archives up to my ceiling in my attic, and I have so much to be proud of.
It might have been a mistake, and you know, we're gonna pay that price. We already are paying that price.
No matter what we do, we are bound to make mistakes. We're human beings. Don't put celebrities up on this pedestal. We are human beings.
Talk about landslides.
I think you learn so much more about yourself and how you deal with people, who's important in your life, who your real family and friends are. And I think our fans, and I think people who know us, and even people who don't know us, know that we come from a real compassionate place, and mistakes are made.
By the way, the Dixie Chicks album Home is still #3 on the country music charts. And now another powerful voice in the music business has weighed in. Just this week, Bruce Springsteen issued a statement, and he says of the Dixie Chicks, "To me, they're terrific American artists expressing American values by using their American right to free speech. For them to be banished wholesale from radio stations for speaking out is un-American."
If you speak out, you're un-American, but this is the old saying, if you're not with us, you're against us. If you're going with the grain, if you're cutting with the grain of the steak, of the meat, okay, but if you're cutting against the grain, it's the meat fibers. But Bruce Springsteen had that to say. When we come back, the conclusion to Diane Sawyer's story. What's going to happen with the Dixie Chicks? Are they afraid that the soldiers are going to boo them? Or what's going to happen now? Are they going to quit and not give up? Or are they going to dig deeper and try to find ways to forgive and forget? Don't go away. Now the conclusion to our story. I grew up listening to country music. I grew up here in Texas. I love country music. I mean, tell you, 80s country, 90s country, 2000s country, today's country, country rock, Christian country, country blues, Texas country, any type of country music I love. George Strait, George Jones, Luke Combs, Kenny Chesney, Shadazy, Rascal Flatts, the Dixie Chicks, Alabama, the Nitty Gritty Band, Emerson Drive, etc. I love country music. We ain't just more all about rednecks and honky tonks. It's good old Tennessee, Texan American music. But for the Dixie Chicks, they're moving up to another state in South Carolina. Where do they go from here? And what is the governor of South Carolina going to say once after they heard about that statement? Here with the conclusion of our story and the conclusion of that interview Diane Sawyer. And before we continue on, you might be asking yourself, why is Sparta Sawyer muted? Because I do not want to get demonetized. I try my very best to just press that mute button on that remote to just mute out the story. Show you what I mean. I hear music, I mute, then I unmute when Diane speaks. That's because I do not want to get demonetized. Now what if I were to put it on a different website? Then maybe we can make some changes. So once again, Diane Sawyer.
Didn't almost split apart. It would defy human nature. There have been reports you're breaking up.
I know. Well, those have been going on since we were together.
But you can't tell me that at no point the two of you, however much you love her, however much you understand her, that you didn't say, why did she do that? Why did she do that?
Why can't you say that? You know what? I don't think people can truly understand the bond that we have. It's beyond sisterhood.
Were you surprised at their reaction?
I didn't think that there would be, but you know, I care about them, so I cared what they thought.
While the sisters moved in to protect the girl who acts brave, but bruises easily.
Because if you don't like who I am, I really can't do anything about that. I'm not going to change for anybody because I know who I am. And I like who I am. And I do believe we're role models. And that is what I want girls, young, impressionable girls, to hear and walk away with. I've never broken the law.
I think partially why our audience has allowed us to get to where we are today is because they like her the way she is.
Is the president's watching tonight?
We hope not, don't we?
Want to say something?
Your show's not long enough.
But stay tuned. 1 week from today, the Dixie Chicks will launch their national tour in the Lion's Den, in a state in which a member of the legislature rose to denounce them.
I've heard the song Goodbye Earl.
Ready to run.
I've heard it, I think.
I think we in South Carolina ought to say goodbye to the Dixie Chicks, and anybody that thinks about going to that concert ought to be ready to run away from it.
You starting the tour in South Carolina?
Yeah, isn't that fun?
You worried?
Now we're ready.
Yeah, I do ready. But I'm so ready to get out there and
see how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Maybe we think it's gonna be worse than it is. Maybe we think it's not going to be as bad as it is. But I've already said, if 95% of the people are booing, you know, immediately everyone chimed in, then you walk off. You walk off. And I was like, no. Yeah, and we're gonna make sure it's worth seeing.
Strength in numbers. I couldn't get up there by myself, but I can handle the booze if I'm standing next to my two best friends.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light?
So when you sing the national anthem the next time,
are we going to be asked? I don't know that we're the poster children for it.
what are you going to be thinking when you sing the national anthem? When you sing the national anthem?
You're thinking about the words we're singing.
It's not going to change what I think about when I sing the national anthem. I remember at the Super Bowl, Natalie and I talking about the fact that we could barely get through it, watching the vets marching down the field with the flags, and it's just so emotional and wonderful. And I won't let anybody take that away from me. No matter what is said, I will not let somebody tell me I'm unpatriotic.
You should know that most of their performances on the tour are already sold out.
But what about performing for the troops? Even in the early days of the firestorm, the Dixie Chicks were still talking to the office of General Tommy Franks about joining the list of performers who stood ready to go and entertain. But we called the office of the top commander today to ask if the offer is still open. It was clear that they were distancing themselves from the Dixie Chicks right now. The general spokesman said there are no plans for any concert with the Dixie Chicks to sing to American troops.
Wow. After that interview, there was probably no concert. But if you watched it, you would know. So if you watch the interview, I want to hear what happened, your reaction, what happened after you saw the interview. But we're gonna read those comments. There's some comments going on. I think there were some. Yep, there were like 92 comments. We're gonna read those comments when we come back, and then we're gonna have viral break. So stay with us. A lot of you watched the interview years ago. Maybe may have your opinions, and you may stick to whatever opinion you might. A lot of you saw this video, commented on that video. A lot of you people tonight are watching this video. You probably may have your opinions about what happened, and I'm going to respect your opinions. But do not have your opinion about this setup here. Do not have it. I can have this set the way I want, and I don't have any editing skills. So you got to be respectful of what the heck's going on. So let's look at some of the comments. I mean, this was 3 weeks ago. The Dixie Chicks should never be disregarded with how talented they are and their harmony and talent. Beautiful. All right. So beautiful that we hear Natalie saying, "I know who I am. I like who I am." The entire interview is trying to push him into saying the wrong thing. It's gross to see this type of journalism. Diane as always is her trademark. She did it Whitney and Brittany. I was about to say that. Wow. Am I ashamed for the choice of words? Yes. Am I ashamed of speaking out? No. That's also good. She mentioned free speech. The troops being brought into the convo, etc., because she is using the right to free speech that the troops died for. Just the opposition is exercising theirs. Death threats is crossing the line. Damn right it is. I mean, your freedom is not bought by celebrities. Your freedom of speech is bought by men and women who fought for this country. That's patriotic. And if you say that you support the firefighters and police officers, and people say that's unpatriotic, well, you look up the word patriotic, and you look up what it means to be a patriot. So what will be going on right now with the Dixie Chicks? Well, they're still going as always. They have a lot of albums out, and their name is now called, instead of the Dixie Chicks, they're now called the Chicks. But is that going to change throughout then? I mean, you were saying, hey, I'm listening to this band called the Dixie Chicks. Are they not called the Chicks? You know, somebody going, oh, you shouldn't listen to them anymore because of Natalie's, because this person, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it'd be like, bitch. There are things you gotta understand. You may have your own opinions, and that's right. Cody Johnson may have some speeches about what it's like, because he has a song called Doubt Me Now. If you were to look up his speeches, I want to show you a couple. Just the portions of it.
For all you first-timers here tonight, I'm about to say a few things on stage that not a single thing that can happen in this country, as long as I've got this microphone, I'm going to continue to say. You understand what I'm saying? I'd like to get the lights as bright as we can possibly get them tonight. Alright. Look, if I ask you to raise your hand, I want you to please keep it raised. If I don't ask you to raise your hand, please keep your hand down for just a minute if you don't mind. Do we have any police officers, sheriff's department, any part of law enforcement, border patrol, any law enforcement whatsoever? Please put your hand in the air tonight. Please keep your hand high in the air if you don't mind. For just a minute, keep your hand in the air. We can see you all the way in the back. I can see you back there. Do we have any firefighters, any EMTs, any first responders, or any nurses or not? Please put your hands high in the air. Anybody that has ever served in our United States military. That's retired, active duty, any branch of the military whatsoever, get your hands up in the air tonight. I want to remind you of something. If you don't have your hand in the air tonight, I want you to turn yourself around and I want you to look out here at this racetrack at the people that do have their hands in the air. I want you to remind yourself of something. I want you to remind yourself of this. No matter what president is office, no matter how stupid the decisions are that he makes, no matter whether you agree with me or I don't agree with you, or you're left or you're right, or you're black or you're white, let me tell you something right now. Your freedom is not bought by politicians. Your freedom in the United States of America is not bought by celebrities and their opinions. Your freedom is bought in this country by ordinary citizens, just like these men and women right here that have their hand in the air tonight. And when we get to the point where we are upset with the last president, or this president, or that law, or whatever happens in social media, when we get to the point where we are so upset with that we start running down our country, you're disrespecting every man and woman with their hand in the air tonight. I personally don't care. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care whether you're black, red, yellow, brown, or white. All I'm going to tell you is this. You take a knife and cut my veins open, all that comes out is red, white, and blue. How about you? I think right here tonight, I want to say some things that make you walk away from here different. I want you to go turn on the news, and I want the news to piss you off. I want you to go hear somebody talk bad about the United States of America, and you want to ring that old Liberty Bell one time, you know what I'm saying? When you walk away from here tonight, the next time the national anthem is played, I want you to get pissed off about the people that don't stand up and put their hand up. Have I said enough? Do you think you know how I feel tonight? Well, then one last time. I don't care if I drain all your energy right here. I don't care if you make another noise for me and this band on stage. For the men and women that still have their hands in the air, make some noise. Now here's the catch-22. If you've been videotaping this tonight, what I just said, when you load this on the internet, there is a group of people. Remember whenever I started the show and I started talking about like-minded people? There's a certain group of people in this country that are going to get pissed off about what I just said. There's a certain group of people in this country that are going to get their feelers hurt, and they're going to start typing, and they're going to be very offended. I've already thought this through. So tonight, I have a song.
All right, that was the whole thing what he said. He also said this again during another speech, a different location. Listen.
I'm going to ask certain ones of you to raise your hands. I know we don't have a ton of lighting here tonight, but let's get as much light on this crowd as we possibly can. If I ask you to raise your hand, please keep your hand raised in the air for just a minute. If I don't ask you to raise your hand, please keep your hands down. I got a point I'd like to prove to you. Do we have any police officers, any sheriff's department, any border patrol, any law enforcement here tonight? Please put your hand in the air and keep your hand raised for just a minute. We can see you on the sides. We can see you all the way in the back. Do we have any firefighters, first responders, nurses, EMTs? Please put your hands in the air tonight. Anybody that has ever served in our United States military, that's retired, active duty, any branch of the military whatsoever, please get your hands up for us tonight. If you don't have your hand in the air, I want you to look around this amphitheater at the people that do. I want you to remind yourself of something tonight. A celebrity, a president, or a politician is not what buys your freedom. A news media outlet, a social media outlet has nothing to do with what keeps you free every single day. No sir, no ma'am. Your freedom of speech, your freedom to worship, your freedom to send the kids to any school you want to, your freedom to pursue any career you want to in this country was bought by the blood and the guts of men and women just like this that fight for your freedom every single day of the week. And I think we can make a little noise for them. I'm going to say this one time. If you want to put your hands down, I understand. I got a few things I'd like to say. I'm going to say this one time. I don't know if you voted for the last president. I don't know if you voted for the current president. Honestly, I don't care. Let me remind you of something. How old did you play in your 30s? Our grandfathers didn't ask each other who they voted for. It was none of their business. Maybe, just maybe in this country, if we go back to minding our own damn business, things might turn out a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you voted for. I don't care how you feel about a mask or a vaccination. I don't care. I don't care whether you're left, you're right, you're red, yellow, black, brown, or white. If you cut my veins open, the only three colors that come out are red, white, and blue. How about you? I'm sick of the division in this country. I always said I would never talk politics on this stage, and technically I'm still not. I'm sick of the division in this country. When you watch the news, they want you to hate her and her to hate him and him to hate her because she hates you. I'm sick of the hate. Why don't we just all remind ourselves, no matter how you feel, no matter what side of the fence you're on, we are still living on this land in the home of the free and the land of the brave together. I got a challenge for you. I challenge you to only surround yourself with patriotic people. If you want to sit down and meet a campfire and have a beer, I can tell you how I feel about a lot of things. I can tell you how I feel about the current administration. I can tell you all about how I feel about all of it, right? But we're not going to do it tonight. What I will tell you is this. I don't surround myself with anybody that thinks that this country should be led to a socialistic government. I don't surround myself with people that try to convince me that the United States of America is doomed. Look back in history what we've been through. I'm from the United States. I'm not scared. We've overcome so much more. We're going to overcome this, but only if we stand together. When they fly that flag, stand up, put your hand over your heart and honor those men and women that died for us. I'll get off my soapbox now. I'm done. But here's what I want you to understand what I just did. What I just did was because you've been filming this whole thing, what I just did was I put myself out there. And I don't know if y'all know this, but it is very unpatriotic to be patriotic as a celebrity nowadays. Every time time that I say I support police officers, every time that I say I support our United States military, someone tells me I'm bad for it. That's unpatriotic. You shouldn't say those things, and I get cussed out. I've been called some very, very bad names for what I just said, depending on what mood somebody was in behind their keyboard. So, what I've done is I've decided to, instead of wait and let my management tell me about it after the fact, I'm going to go ahead and take the fight straight to them. So here's what we're going to do. If you're on the other end of that cell phone, if you're on the other end of that social media platform, and what I just said hurts your feelers, my name's Cody Johnson. This song's for you. It's called Doubt.
Exactly. And even when Natalie was like saying, I support this, I support that, was she unpatriotic? It's not unpatriotic if you support. I mean, celebrities may support whatever they want to. It's their right. They were born in the United States of America, whether it's in Maryland, South Carolina, Texas. If you're born in the United States of America, you support your parents, not just your parents, your friends. You were raised to be a leader, not a follower. Your mom and dad raised you to be a leader, not a follower. And if people start telling you, say, hey, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't say that. Listen, this is the United States of America. We have laws. We have the Constitution. Look back at history. Look back at when they wrote the Constitution. The First Amendment gives you the right to say whatever you want, but there are limits to free speech. You can't scream in front of a crowded theater. People can be trying to be liable. Fighting words are illegal. You tell riders, if you beat that guy up, you're in trouble. Look back at history. If you look back at history, then you may realize that this country can be good if we do good things. But when people are getting picked up because of what they say, they may get cussed out. Some people may be in support and say, yeah, I support this person, I support that person. But when someone cusses that person out, that person can cuss the other person out and say, oh, this, I hate this, I hate this, that. Okay? Well, I hate you, this, that, and the third. It's like, why can't we just get along? Get along and start realizing this, that, and the third. We have to realize that I'm proud to live in this state. I'm proud to live in a state to where you can defend yourself. You can go to any school you want. You have a freedom. You have the freedom to choose whatever you want to do. It's your freedom of speech to say whatever you want. On the street, you can say whatever you want and you might not get cussed out. But what you're not free to do is to make a threat. Dixie Chicks cases, they got death threats. I mean, when you make a death threat to a celebrity, you're crossing the line. And you may say, well, I hate the Dixie Chicks so much, so I'm going to write a death threat to one of the members and say, this, that, and the third, you're going to be blah, 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 blah. Sitting on the doorstep and... Because if I were to do that, I'd be crossing the line. That's where I draw the line. I mean, a lot of y'all watching have commented on Jason Aldean's tried that in a small town video and said, well, this song's racist. There's no racism involved. I mean, the song's just basically about what's been going on in these past years. Do I need to play that investigation again from back in October, back in September? I believe I do, because y'all need a good teaching about this. I mean, y'all this is not just basically, this is basically what he's saying. He's just basically saying what's been going on in these last 2 years is not good for our country. There's no racism involved. It's 2024. Get along. Get along. Love your country. Support the troops. Support the firefighters. Support the paramedics. Support your police officers. Support your community. Help out in any way, shape, or form. That's family. There's no I in what? Say it with me. There's no I in what? Exactly. Team. There's no I in team. Unless you're from a different country. If you're from a different country, from a different language, that's how you may say it. But there's no I in team. That's family. If you see someone struggling, If you see a homeless person like out on the street and they want some food, you help that person out. That's what makes you a true American. Helping somebody out in desperate times. There's the old saying, desperate times call for desperate measures. And when you see a homeless person out on the street and they're like doing this nearby a food place, you do your very best because you got some money, you go help them out. You either just go and change, walk in near a restaurant, buy them a meal, and they can be on their way. Send them to a shelter nearby. That's helping them out. Volunteer in a homeless camp and say, and just basically, what you could basically do is just simply volunteer in a soup kitchen for the homeless and just say, well, this is what I'm doing. You may not get paid for it, but you may get paid for it. Well, what you're doing is helping out not just the homeless, but your community. I vowed for my New Year's resolution to help out my community in any way, shape, or form by doing whatever it takes to keep this community clean. And I will do whatever it takes to get this community back up on its feet and start realizing that, hey, things have got to change. I mean, we already looked at the Supreme Court to deciding to whether or not they're going to go on the side of the city or the homeless people. I mean, that decision is up to the Supreme Court. And again, we won't know what happens until something does change. And if in fact there is some change, what we have to do is just look at history and look back and say, well, this, that, and the third. And a lot of times, just basically, you know what? This needs to happen, and that does not need to happen. Alright. I'm going to get off my soapbox right now. Because we have two new videos from Uploads for Fun. It is really funny to see those two. But first things first, we got a couple videos from Law by Mike. Actually, 3 short videos from Law by Mike. First off, we're going to look at some weird school rules from around the world.
3 of the weirdest school rules from around the globe. At number 3, teachers in the UK have banned having a best friend.
Well, that's it. We're not friends no more.
Bro, it's not me. It's...
Save it.
Teachers started enforcing this rule to encourage kids to socialize in inclusive groups instead of singling kids out, and also protect them from the heartbreak of losing a friend. Number 2, the French banned ketchup. They banned the condiment ketchup from school cafeterias in order to preserve French cuisine. Huh? Weirdly, the only time you're allowed to use it is when you're eating French fries.
Looking to score some, how do you say, ketchup?
Yo, chill, that's contraband. And at number 1, in North Korea, schools make students choose between one of 28 approved haircuts. Haha, hold still. Wait, can I see the list? Oh yeah, that one's good. Ooh, I like that one. 28 is a lot of haircuts, actually. I hate to see the hairstyles that didn't make the cut. All right, you're under arrest. Who are you, the joke police?
Yeah. The joke police. All right. Have you ever got your, did you ever order from delivery and saw someone eat your food? Chew my food! So I make sure it's warm, sir. I ordered from DoorDash, but it actually gave me battery. Watch.
Can you sue your delivery driver for eating your food?
Yeah, it was just a small bite. I just wanted to make sure it was warm.
A survey found 30% of delivery drivers eat your food. You know what else is a crime, though? Spitting in your food. Table 5, this one's for you. In most states, spitting in someone's food and serving it to them is actually considered battery. Battery? Yes, not only that, but you could be violating laws against food tampering if you get them sick. Hey, you're not sick, are you? No. Gross. So if you can prove that your delivery driver made your food more harmful or dangerous by spitting in it, or even got you sick, then you might have a case, and they could even be arrested. Oh, there he is.
I'll show you one, Star.
We got him. You better quit spitting in that sauce. Ah! Next time, sauce on the side. Can you sue your delivery driver for eating your food?
Yes, you can. If you can prove it on tape, then you can take it to court. Alright, going back to uploads for fun. 2 great videos. First off, some egg jokes. You gotta be yoking.
You'll probably never eat eggs again.
Why did Mr. Egg break up with Miss Egg? Because she kept busting his yolks. Why was Miss Egg mad at Mr. Egg during sex?
No.
Because his yolks kept running. Why was Mr. Egg mad during sex with Miss Egg? Because he couldn't get hard boiled.
You'll probably never eat eggs again.
And a lot of comment. Alright, it's time for some Barney. Barney and Casey are back. He's been a bad boy.
Barney's been a bad boy.
Barney just got breast implanters for full milky breast friends with all the milk that he will make. He'll probably end world hunger. Stop with my naps! Barney just called Queso fat and Queso sent your band. You can't ban me cause I'm Barney and your mom's my biggest fan. Surprise, Queso! I'm doing your mommy!
Barney's been a bad boy.
Barney just got breast implanters for full milk.
Oh God, that's gonna be a break for this Wednesday going to Thursday. We'll see. Bye bye. See you again. We'll see you again on Friday. No Throwback Thursday. No Jay. Welcome. Good night.